Henry Davis might not be hitting quite yet, but if you're building a team around pitching, you better have a catcher who could do some of the things he's already mastered. Today, we're making the case for Davis as the Pirates' 2026 starter, and that's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Pirates, your daily dose of black and gold baseball. I'm Gary Morgan. Today, we're talking about why Henry Davis should be the starting catcher in 2026, how the Pirates are trying to fix their broken development system, and what the latest roster moves tell us about the team's direction. First, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. The case for Henry Davis as the 2026 starting catcher. That's where I want to start. Even if his bat doesn't develop, Davis is the right choice for a pitching first team. His defensive metrics this year are insane. I mean, he's really got some things better than anybody. Caught stealing, he's sitting right now in the 95th percentile. His pop time is in the 90th percentile. Just for comparison's sake, Joey Bart's pop time of 2.02 is poor, and his framing and blocking are as well. Austin Hedges isn't even like in Henry's category anymore because he doesn't play enough. And Roberto Perez, well, he's obviously done, but in his prime, very reminiscent of a lot of Henry's metrics. He's already a defensive asset. His offensive ceiling is still untapped for a team that is built around arms like Skeens and Jones and Chandler and Keller. And I just don't think that the Pirates can afford to let this one asset sit around. There's reason to take your time with a player like Henry Davis, okay? Like, first, when you draft somebody 1-1, you're going to go out of your way to try to make something of them. We just saw this all play out in Detroit with Spencer Torkelson, right? It looked like forever, like the bat was never going to come. He was never going to figure it out. And then it was like, well, how valuable is he really if he's just a first baseman? Great, a first baseman. I know here in Pittsburgh, that sounds amazing. We haven't had a first baseman, just pop up out of the sky for us for the better part of 40 years. But still, that's the way it was looked at. It's not a hard to fill position, supposedly, again, outside of this city. And he was a 1-1. They wanted to give him every opportunity. They ended up sending him to the minors, and this year, he's really come right. A lot of what they've been waiting for kind of showed up. And then in some ways, they kind of stopped waiting for some other things that just, it turns out, weren't in his skill set. Well, Henry, I think, is a work in progress. I think that's obvious, right? I mean, like, even if everything had gone perfectly, this is still really his second or third crack at major league playing time. And this is the most he's ever gotten this year. He was called up for the bat to the point where the team was petrified to use him behind the plate. And I mean, like, they were barreling towards 100 losses, and they thought it was so damaging to even consider putting Hank behind the plate. They wouldn't even do that to Miguel Del Pozo. That's how committed they were to none of their pitchers having to face this nightmare of a defender that Henry Davis surely was behind the plate. That's half of the feelings that fans have about Henry Davis are directly tied to the way this team handled and treated him. They acted like he couldn't catch. I mean, they acted like it was radioactive to even consider it. We watched this kid, and I'm going to put this nicely, I think. We watched this kid make a fool of himself in right field. primarily because this team was so afraid to have him catch. As bad as he was in right field, they thought it was less of a detriment to put him out there and watch him do that than it was to put him behind the plate and see him do what he was drafted as. How could you have a more in your face indictment from a team about what they think you're capable of defensively? So he was challenged. And when you challenge Henry, you get everything Henry's got. Now, that doesn't mean Henry's going to succeed at everything he tries to do. It doesn't mean I can go, hey, Henry, I want you to run dead sprint to the top of Mount Everest without taking a break. It doesn't mean he can do that just because I challenged him to it. But when you challenge Henry, he puts his mind to it and he dedicates himself to it, Henry will improve at it. 2 years in a row, they've challenged him to become a better defender. 2 years in a row, he's come back a better defender. The bat has suffered. The bat is ultimately what will determine whether Henry is a good to star player or just a good player. And I say that specifically because of the position he plays. If he can hold down being a defensive stalwart behind the plate, there is a job for him for the next 10 years if he wants it. It's a needed spot in Major League Baseball. And even after pseudo Romo umps come in, let's remember there's only going to be a couple challenges you're still going to have to frame. You're still going to have to receive a pretty ball. So that stuff doesn't just go away next year. You're going to need that. And the game planning and the preparing for games aspect of what he does, we heard this stuff with Roberto Perez. We heard this stuff with Austin Hedges. There's a reason I bring those names up. These are guys that this team thought, it doesn't matter what you do offensively. We've seen your track record. We don't care. We think you're worth a $5 million contract. We think you're that key to this pitching program. So do you see that changing right now? Do you see them changing the way they feel about that position? I don't. And I think there's a lot more chance that you challenge Henry to get the bat going this offseason. We trust you on the defense now, Cowboy. You did good work. Now the thing is, can we send you into the offseason and challenge you offensively and have you come back and give a little bit more on that side of the ball? That's what we're going to see. But the basis of Henry Davis and how he enters this offseason, I think he's entering this offseason knowing that he's coming back as a starting catcher. You know he's going to come back and catch for Paul Skeens. You know damn well that Mitch Keller's better when he throws to him. We've even seen Andrew Heaney better when he threw to him. I think it's a mistake to think that offense is more important here at catcher. I also think it's a mistake to pretend picking Henry means you can't have offense. I think this is the next stage of his development. But this stage, I think he's proved I'm a starting catcher. That play he made last night was unbelievable. I mean, it was partially his fault. He should have caught that ball in the first place. It was a pitch that he just missed. But man, he pounced on that ball all the way back to the wall, picked it up, and in one motion, fires it to first base. There's one place he could have thrown that ball that it wouldn't have hit the runner or gone into right field, and he threw it right there. And to his credit, Spencer Horwitz was right where he needed to be, perfectly positioned. It's so good to see good defense, man. Don't discount it. And don't act like you can't have both. but also don't turn your nose up at the one you get when you get it, especially if it's at a position like catcher. Henry Davis, 2026 starter, without a doubt. Don't even go shopping. Shop for a backup because that's what you need. Unless you think one of your kids can do it. But then again, maybe you want a more proven bat to back up Henry Davis. Perhaps that would help a lot more than trying to shop for a new starter, because I don't see that in the cards. When we come back, I want to talk about the development system for the Pirates. It gets a lot of shade, but let's be honest. A lot of you have no idea what's going on with it, really. Not really. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Money, 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 everybody. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out. All right, everybody, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Let's talk about Pirates development, okay? I I just want to say something that I think is probably going to rub some of you the wrong way. It's probably not the best way to start this segment because you'll view everything under that umbrella, but I'm going to do it anyway. And this isn't a defense of Ben Cherington, but the next GM is going to benefit from what I think right this second is a very, very healthy system. It really is. It's a very healthy system. I even like the track of the development changes they've made. I'm saying all this before I even tell you what they've done, if only to say the if you want Ben Cherington replaced, there's two main reasons. One, it took too long to identify some of the problems that he had in the development system that he set up in the first place, and the international system, which he inherited. Okay. It took a little too long for him to identify those things. And two, MLB identification of offense and execution of offense. Those two things. I think those are the main catalysts for why you'd replace him. I think it's probably pedantic a little bit to say that he's just done a horrific job. He has done some good things. The system is in a great place. The pitching could not be deeper and all at the top. And then if you really start looking into the system, you see it's not just at the top. There is another distinct wave forming of guys that you haven't been talking about a lot. Carlson Reed, Xander Meath. There are more guys coming. Po Yu Chen is even starting to look really good. An international signing from over 5 years ago at this point. There's a lot of pitching still coming. This team's in no way, shape, or form going to be one and done on the pitching front. So when we talk about successes and failures, I think it's important that we actually note some things that the next guy, if we do end up making a change here, is going to inherit. And you can't do that without acknowledging what Ben Cherington has provided for you. Now, I say that on the Neil Huntington aspect of things. I probably spent the first 5 or 6 years I've done covering this thing talking about what Ben Cherington had to start with, the system he was inheriting, the roster he was inheriting. I thought a lot of that got undersold as maybe Ben was in a better position than he was to start with. And I think it's true to note that they had a better team as a whole when he started than potentially what he has right this second. But it was a team that was basically hanging on the vine, needing to be picked or wasted in many ways. Like Starling Marte was starting to age out and wanted out. Josh Bell, too inconsistent, not very valuable. Lots of problems, okay? Decided to keep a few things. And then, you can rightly say, like, hey, you got Oneil Cruz. That's from Huntington, not you. Fine. But my point is, if you start down that road, you have to do that for this guy too. And the next one, I'm just telling you, trust me, 5 years from now, we're going to be talking about a team primarily built from Ben Cherington players with a few augmentations put on it by whoever they hire. It's just the nature of this and the strength of the system that he's built up here. It just stands to reason 5 years from now, this is a conversation we're going to be having. Some of those people are going to get called Ben Cherington apologists when they bring it up. You can tell them that you heard on Locked On Pirates way back in August of 2025 from this crazy Gary guy. It should be acknowledged. It will be acknowledged. That doesn't mean he should be retained. That's a different conversation. Okay? I think he's done a great job building the system. I don't necessarily think I have to have him in order to continue having that great system. I just need somebody now that knows how to get it done at the major league level. That's the next step. I don't personally think he's the right guy for that. I think a lot of you feel the same way. But I'm also not here to tell you that I think he's been a total failure and done nothing good. Because that's not true either. It's just not. John Baker was promoted to the VP of Performance in November of 2024. Now, they called this a promotion, but really what they did is they created a new position and moved him. Okay, because when he was hired, I personally think it was a stretch to put him in charge of player development. And I think he proved that out. I think it was. I don't think he did anything to get fired, but he definitely should not have been in charge of it anymore. So they hired a new farm director in Michael Cherno. And so far, I think we've seen some good results. Matt Haig was brought in. And what we didn't know until very recently is that his approach is a little bit different. He is trying to get guys to fire off their swings. It's taken a really long time for him to start getting it embedded at the major league level. But I think we're starting to see that break through. And the minors are starting to show signs that it is breaking through. The approach in general is not the same from, say, the curve on down as it has been in the last handful of years. They finally got a united approach to player health and skill and development. They put it all together now. It's simplified some of the communication across departments. They've hired Max Kwan for international scouting, Kevin Tannenbaum for R&D. This R&D is a fancy way of saying analytics, basically. But it's different ways of looking at analytics. It's somebody that's supposed to create like new niches, like Extension has been for them with Johan Oviedo and Bailey Falter. Both of those players acquired because they had extreme extension figures. I think you could argue that they've both been successful pickups, but also how many guys can you get like that? It's a very narrow window of success. So you want an R&D guy or somebody that's constantly looking to find other ways to improve. Now, the reason for all these changes was, frankly, the pitching success versus the offensive lack of success. So that's the reason they made all these changes. And I think Griffin's rapid rise is kind of an indication that they are changing things. They've let Connor, for the most part, be Connor. Nobody has tried to get him to hit more home runs. No one's tried to get him to hit his stuff at a launch angle of 33 degrees. Nobody has tried to make sure that he's impacting the ball with X percentage of top spin. Nobody's trying to mess with the placement of his forearm before he swings. They're letting the kid just play baseball. And that's something that this team has not done in the past. They used to get kids in, both in the international system and through the draft, or even trade. And the first thing they would do is put them in the system and put their stamp on them. They wanted to get eyes on them. And then once they got eyes on them, then they wanted to put their tweaks on them. And they wanted to see if they could get this out of them because they saw in the numbers that this might be able to be pulled out. That's all gone now. That's all been taken away for the most part with this new guy. And I just want to say that it's early to judge him, just like it probably took a few years to figure out whether Baker was actually going to manage this or not. That's the nature of baseball. It can take 2 or 3 years to figure this stuff out. I'm not giving them a pass on anything. They took too long for all this stuff to take place. I'm just saying, when and if they do replace the GM, I'm not 100% sure that the infrastructure of this team needs to change all that much, because I think in many ways they've already addressed many of the things that needed to be changed. And I personally like the early, let's call it, I like the look of the early seedlings from this brand new approach to farming. It's too early for me to say what it's going to do at the major league level, but I have to just put it out there that I think right now they're on the right track on a lot of this stuff. And I would hate to see that have to blow up too, just because they move on from a GM. And I do still think that needs to happen. Again, I think there needs to be better top level trades. There needs to be better acquisition for the MLB level. But throughout the system, I really like what I'm seeing. And I can't get past feeling like in 2030, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I live that long. 2030, if I'm still doing Locked On Pirates, I plan to be sitting here telling you, like, hey, Ben Cherington wasn't that bad at every aspect of his job. He's a big reason why the team is what it is right this second. And I think, like, just looking at the system and the lag time that you expect on systems, boy, it feels like he's going to get let go, and the next GM is going to experience the fruit from it, going to get to look like the brainiac that made it all happen. And maybe he will be, because at the end of the day, maybe that's what's ultimately missing. You know, you can wrap the whole thing as pretty as you want, but you don't have anybody tying the bow at the top. That's what we need. Somebody to tie the bow. A lot of the ugly work has been done. Ben Cherington's laid a lot of the foundation. Somebody else is going to get to come along and be the famous architect that designed this gorgeous building. You get what I mean? I just think it's interesting when I hear fans say they can't develop, they can't do this. Yeah, traditionally, you're right. They haven't. They didn't. But you're not looking at the same system that you've been looking at. And while I understand not trusting him to do anything or not appreciating a lot of the moves he's made, if you're somebody that's really looking at this system a lot, and I like to think I do, I feel very much so like it is in the best direction that I've seen it, well, ever. I don't ever remember seeing the system quite like this. That's not to sell you the future. I mean, like, you don't want to wait for it. That's up to you. I'm not going to tell you have to. I get sick of getting sold that too. I'm just saying, I think they've made a lot of the changes that need made. And I'm kind of done saying, oh, they can't do X, Y, because I think we're kind of seeing maybe they can. And the way that the next couple of years of development go, with or without Ben Cherington, I think a lot of that legwork, that yard work, that construction work, the laying of foundation, the rebar drilling, that's the ugly crap that we just went through. It's time to start harvesting, though, don't you think? In the next one, let's talk about some of the weeding that they have been doing while planning some new things as well. Hey, Locked On Pirates fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with a free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON. Get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or even an e-gift card for Amazon or other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Thanks for making it to segment 3. You everydayers are incredible. Hit me with a subscribe and a like, and make sure you share it with a friend. Roster moves they made yesterday. I did a little short on them. I'm not sure I need to expand upon it all that much. They DFA'd Andrew Heaney like we told them to. Congratulations to them and us. I'll pat myself on the back if you like. You guys can do it too at home. I know you guys were yelling at the screen just like I was. They recalled Dauri Moreta. I think smart move there. He was definitely ready. Activated Oneil Cruz from the IL, and they optioned Ronnie Simon. This leaves no lefties in the pen, so I just wanted to point that out. We have a couple days here before the end of August, and then rosters will expand. And when rosters expand, I just remind you, you do not get access to your whole 40-man the way you used to. You now get 2 extra roster spots that you can carry throughout the end of the year. I personally hate this. I used to love in losing seasons. It was something I looked forward to, was the September call-up period where you would get to see some of these young kids and really get to feel a little bit of what that young youthful team might be coming together as. And now you don't get that. Now you get a couple of roster spots, and most teams, even the ones that aren't in it, fill that with a junk reliever and, maybe an extra utility guy. It's never really a top prospect you're super interested in. And unfortunately, that's what I bet will happen this time too. That said, there are no lefties in the pen, and I expect Sisk to likely be added when they do expand rosters. I would think that makes a lot of sense. I don't expect Ronnie Simon to come back unless they make him the guy that they bring back up when rosters expand. He may very well fit that role better than anybody. I don't know the benefit of not bringing up like a Nick York or Cam Devaney, and the only reason I say that is because the AAA season will likely end before the Major League season, and I say that because I don't know how long they'll get into the playoffs and all that stuff. I think I'd probably leave Simon off. I know he didn't get a huge opportunity here, but listen, a guy that you picked up off waivers, even if he was a former second rounder, this is his 3rd team now. Somebody's seen something. And for me personally, I think maybe a little too emotional in general. Just kind of lets his emotions get away with him. He hit that big double the other night. Then he has a bonehead move, getting caught going to 3rd. And it's lets the adrenaline take over sometimes, I would say. Maybe that's a better way to put it than emotional, because I really like actually some of what he adds when he was really getting passionate about, helping out the team there with a big hit. These moves, they're not flashy, but they show the Pirates are tightening the roster a little bit. Cruz's return, I really need to see more, but last night was not encouraging. Still looks like he's flailing. Still looks like he's letting that really nice to hit pitch go right down the middle for some reason. Can't get a swing off on the fastball, so he's late. And then he's way too early or way over the top of most breaking stuff. Not sustainable. He's not been figured out. This isn't the league just going like, well, we know how to get Oneil Cruz out now. Right now, you could get Oneil Cruz out by rolling the ball down there. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing right this second. This isn't like Oneil Cruz has always done this great and now the league just never shows it to him. This league could throw fastballs right down the pipe against this guy right now, and he's not going to catch up to it because he's too in his head. He's got too many things going on, and they're conflicting with each other. And it just doesn't look good right now at the plate. I'm not saying that he won't figure it out before the season's over, but this is a case of somebody that I feel the Pirates have potentially tried to overeducate a little bit. And I am in no way calling Oneil Cruz stupid. I'm not. But I am saying that Oneil Cruz is a much better player when he is able to just let his natural athleticism take over. So when you fill his head with all these things he needs to think of at the plate and stuff he needs to mind and be this type of hitter when you're hitting here and do this in this situation and blah, blah, blah. Oneil Cruz is a guy that I kind of want to treat like the Incredible Hulk. I just want to walk up to him every once in a while and just go, Oneil, smash. Like, that's it. Go up and do what you do. Hit the baseball. I don't give a crap if you hit it off your ankles 400 feet. I don't care. See ball, hit ball. That's it. Let the natural athleticism take over. Let's see what he can be. Stop filling his head with all the things he should be. Or you're going to wind up wasting all of your time with him. What this is barreling towards is a guy who's going to really figure it out in ARB 2. And he's going to look like a really expensive arbitration 3 guy or somebody that you should potentially trade, but you're not sure about the value. Should you extend him maybe? That's what this is barreling towards. He's got one more season, really, before that's the case. That's what is on the table for Oneil Cruz. He can be one of the better players in this league. Or he can be a slightly above average player that a lot of teams are happy to have, but nobody wants to put on the front of their team guide. He'll become a journeyman. That's what he'll be. And maybe that's enough for him. It's not enough for me, though. There's too much hope pinned in that kid. And there's too much hope pinned in that kid to just come back for a 4th year and hammer your head against the wall trying to get through to him in the same way that you've always tried to get through to him. And enough bringing in Spanish speakers that can help him communicate with him, or quit bringing in daddy figures for him. You know who it's time for? A daddy figure for Cruz? Cruz. Grow up. Be the daddy. Stop asking the team to bring one in for you. You don't need a Tommy Pham. He doesn't need a Carlos Santana. He needs to be that. He needs to be that. He needs to make himself a star. You need to quit hiring babysitters to help him out. He's either that guy or he's not. Next year's the time to figure that out. But I don't want to hear any more mentorship stories for him in spring. I don't. And I don't want to hear any more stories about how awesome it is watching him in batting practice and doing all. No. I want stories about how he's on the field doing X, Y, and Z and leading the team because of it. That's what Oneil Cruz needs to do. And there's something I've learned in life, and it's that no man is going to grow up because you tell them to. They're going to grow up because they realize they have no alternative. Pirates need to quit giving them an alternative. You need to quit bringing in guys that are supposed to shepherd him and then wonder why he walks around acting like he needs shepherded. Let this kid play baseball. Take the reins off him. Take the shackles off him. Get out of his way. Let's see what happens. That's the best thing you can do with this player right now. Henry Davis is the right catcher for this baseball team, even if the bat takes time. The Pirates are finally investing in development the right way, and the roster moves show they're thinking ahead. That's it for today's Locked On Pirates. Subscribe, share, and we'll see you next time. Let's go Bucks.